Brock is a Kanto gym leader, but is he strong enough to answer my question? Can we beat Pokemon Violet as Brock? In these games, we now have a solid team that we can make that Brock has or has in the past owned, so I'm excited to get started. Let's jump into some brief rules. We can only use Brock's Pokemon in combat. No held items, only an Everstone for Pokemon that can't evolve. No cheating or exploits, and we're going to try and stay at a reasonable level. We'll only level up if we are walled. With that, let's get into our adventure. So we start off by customizing our characters to look the closest to Brock as we can. That's about as good as it gets. So the intro to these games are pretty long before we can actually explore the region of Paldea. So let me just give you a quick recap into what happened. We meet a dragon from the future that's sick. We give sick future dragon a sandwich. Sandwich makes future dragon better. We follow future dragon into a cave where we are attacked by a Houndoom. Box comes to our protection, then realise what we called it, so it instantly abandons us and leaves us. Cheers, Boxed. Future Dragon saves us, so we battle Arvin's level 5 Scorvit, and he deems us worthy of this powerful Pokemon. He says it's not his problem anymore, and he runs away, meaning we can now use the Future Dragon as our personal vehicle. With that beautiful recap done, we are now free to explore the region of Paldea and start on our path. But hold up, we got some things we need to do first, like actually have Brock's team. So if we go to this tree, we can see an innocent Bonsly sleeping, so of course we throw a Pokeball at his head and add him to our team. Next, if we go all the way to Tagtree Thicket, we can add another member to our team, Pineco. Then we cross back the map to East Province 5, where we can add a unique member to our team, Krogunk, who for some reason just likes to constantly laugh at us. With them three on our team, we need to use the DLC to go to Kitakimi, where we can pick up the remaining Pokemon. Here we can catch a Vulpix, then we can also catch a Geodude, and finally we can add our last member, Lotad. So with all that taken care of, this is the final team. Don't they look like absolute powerhouses? Our Lotad and Pineco are a slightly higher level though, so we won't be using them at the start of the run. The first thing we want to do on our journey is our first Titan battle, with the amazing crab Cloth. The crab doesn't really have a way to hurt Krogunk, and we have a fighting type move, so only 2 low kicks activate stage 2. We ambush Cloth by jumping on its head, and then it eats some Herba Mystica, powering itself up, but the fight is very easy. We low kick for good damage, and Shelder hits a Leer. We activate its ability as well with another low kick, so that reduces its defense even more. So we hit a critical hit low kick, and we defeat our very first Titan. We can then feed Miraidon another sandwich, and he powers up, learning the ability to dash. We then head to the Cortando city, where we can face our first gym leader. After using Miraidon's help in the olive roll, we pass the gym test, meaning we can challenge the gym. So first is Katie. She's a bug gym leader, and she leads with Nimble. We terrestrialize our Vulpix, boosting our fire type moves even more, so one Ember and the little bug can't take it and falls over. Out next is another new Pokemon, Tarantula. I probably said that wrong. Another boosted Ember burns a spider and takes that down quickly also. Teddiursa comes out and he's gonna terrestrialize into a bug type. We hit a boosted Ember doing over half to him as he does okay damage to us with a Fury Cutter. One more boosted fire attack though and we take down Teddiursa, defeating our first gym leader, Katie. We make our way to Artisan next to go for our second gym badge. I'm expecting this to be a pretty easy fight for Vulpix also, as he is a grass type gym leader. After rounding up an army of Sunflora that looks as if they are moving at about 5 frames a second, we pass the gym test and can challenge him. Gracias is our opponent at the Artisan gym, and I lead off with Vulpix, and he leads with Petilil. We terrestrialize, boosting our fire moves yet again. However, not leveling up between the gyms means a boosted Ember only takes Petilil to just under half HP. He annoyingly puts us to sleep, and it connects. The next turn we stay asleep and he hits a super weak Mega Drain. Thankfully we wake up the turn after that and hit a super effective Ember, taking him down. Up next is Smoliv, and we hit another Ember doing roughly the same damage as we did on Petilil. He hits a Tackle doing pretty decent damage though, then we take him out with another Ember, leaving his last Pokemon, Sudowoodo. He terrestrializes into a grass type, meaning our Ember is now super effective. We outspeed and do okay damage, but he hits a Rock Throw, and that's enough to take down Vulpix. We can send out Krogunk, and we outspeed Sudowoodo, hitting a Venoshock and taking him down, beating Gratius, and now putting us at 2 gym badges. Bonsly must have been inspired seeing a Sudowoodo, and it learns Mimic, so now it evolves into our very own Sudowoodo, giving us another solid Pokemon for our team. We head over to our next Titan fight now, and it's trying to literally squash us and everything else by throwing down huge boulders. So it's time to fight Paldea. It's time for our newly involved Sudowoodo to shine though, as we terrestrialize, completely covering our head by the way. With a super effective rock throw, we take it to half, as it does less than 20 damage to us. One more rock throw, and we activate stage 2. It eats some of the Herba Mystica and powers itself up. We once again terrestrialize, covering our head again. Sorry Sudowoodo. Paldea hits a rock throw, taking us reasonably low as we return the favour with the same attack. Nakali's rock throw takes it to around 30% though, and it decides to spare our Sudowoodo and pluck Nakali, meaning one more super effective rock throw and Sudowoodo takes down the second Titan. Look how happy he is. We can then feed Miraidon another sandwich, powering it up some more. Our team has leveled up a little bit now, and I've upgraded some of our moves, so next is our first team star fight against the Dark type. So we lead with Vulpix and he leads with Pawniard. We terrestrialize turn 1 to boost our fire moves even more. We outspeed and one Incinerate obliterates the Steel and Dark type. Next up is his Reveroom, the Starmobile. He lowers our special defense with a metal sound, meaning we don't take hits well. We fire off a boosted Incinerate, but it's not doing much damage at all. He then goes for a Snarl, which lowers our special attack even more, meaning our next Incinerate does even less damage. He then takes out our Vulpix with a Wicked Talk. Our next Pokemon is Croagunk. He hits the Swift for only 16 damage, as our low kick does a hefty chunk to him. We dodge a Metal Sound, meaning only one more low kick, and we take out the Reveroom, winning our first team star fight. Back-to-back fights now as we take on the Electric Gym leader, Iono. However, even though we told Nemona we don't want to battle, she insists. This wasn't even a challenge though. Croagunk is so powerful. One Earthquake takes down Rockruff, one Earthquake swallows up Pawmi, and then Florigato, I hope I said that right, goes down to a Venoshock. So it's time for Iono. Looking at a team and having Earthquake, I don't think this will be much of an issue. So for the gym test, we find the professor randomly sat on somebody's boat, and we pass. It's time for the actual battle. We lead off with Geodude and she leads Wattrel. We basically sweep our way to Mismagius, but we lose Toxicroak on the way. Then Mismagius proceeds to kill our whole team thanks to critical hits, confusion and hex spam, even killing our high level Pineapple and Lotad. That was an awful fight. Iono's always a problem for me. I'm going to level up to 24 and try it again. So this time we lead off with Geodude and it's Wattrel again. It hits a weak pluck as one super effective rock throw takes down the electric bird. Out comes Bellibolt now, and this thing has water gun, so we swap to Croagunk and it does okay damage to us. We outspeed and fire off an Earthquake, taking it to half HP before we activate its ability, Electromorphosis, and powers up its Spark, so he takes down Croagunk. We swap in Sudowoodo and we tank a Water Gun reasonably well, and fire off an Earthquake for the Revenge Knockout. Luxio is out and it lowers our attack with its ability Intimidate. We get hit for a Spark, taking us to 28 HP, and we fire off an Earthquake, but with the attack drop, we don't quite get the knockout. It hits another Spark, taking us to the red, before we fire off an Earthquake, leaving her last Pokemon, and the most annoying by far, Mismagius. Earthquake is useless here as it has the ability Levitate, so she terrestrializes into an electric type and takes out Sudowoodo with a Hex. Now it's time for my new strategy. We swap into Geodude, Mismagius hits a Hex, taking us to 1 HP, but we survive, and we self-destruct, doing massive amounts of damage to her. We send out Vulpix, and then she starts her shenanigans. We get hit by a Confuse Ray and hit ourselves. Here we go again. She fires off a Hex, nearly taking us down, but we break through it and hit an Incinerate, taking us to the red. We go for a priority quick attack, and don't hit ourselves, leaving Mismagius on 1 HP surely. She takes down Vulpix and we send out a Pineco. We just need to land one move. She confuses us and we hit ourselves in confusion. Again, Mismagius hexes us for big damage and we finally break through, hitting a rollout and taking down our third gym. Thankfully it didn't take too many attempts, but her strategy is definitely annoying. Moving on. Up next is another team star fight. This time it's a fire type Mila. We lead off with Geodude and she has a Torkoal. His ability Drought boosts fire type moves. He hits first and fires off a super weak Flame Wheel as we do massive damage with Earthquake. She hits us again with the same attack, before we take down the Fire Turtle with another Earthquake. Then is Revroom as usual, however she hits an Overheat in the Sun, reducing her special attack, but taking out Geodude in the process. And she has the ability Speed Boost, so she's always going to outspeed the rest of our team. We send out Sudowoodo and she goes for a Blazing Torque, not doing too much damage, but burning us, so that reduces our attack. That's really unlucky. We then trade blow for blow as Sudowoodo takes him to the half before finally going down from his attacks. We send out Krogunk to go for an Earthquake, but a Blazing Torque takes us all the way to the red as we do fire off a massive Earthquake. Thinking she will take us out, I go for a Sucker Punch, but she actually goes for Screech, lowering our defense. We Sucker Punch the next turn, leaving her on very little HP as Krogunk goes down. We send out Lotad, who is ready to finally join the squad, and he takes a Blazing Torque before finishing her off with a Bubble Beam. That means we beat our second team star fight. Our next stop on our journey is another Titan. This time it's Orthworm. We can't use ground moves here due to his ability, so we send out Vulpix. We Terrestrialize as he hits us with an Iron Tail for massive damage and lowers our defense. I'm thinking Vulpix is going to go down here, but he actually misses his next attack, meaning we can activate Stage 2 with one more boosted Incinerate. Stage 2, however, was a joke. He never attacked us other than a weak Wrap, and Toedscruel took the majority of moves like Screech, and he set up a Sandstorm, giving us a pretty easy Titan win. And we once again feed Miraid on a sandwich, powering it up. With him beat, Lotad actually evolves into Lombre, which is really needed as our next gem could possibly pose a challenge. So we head to Cascarafa and deliver Kofu his wallet so we can challenge him. I also spend all of his money at the auction and manage to keep a nice chunk of change for ourselves. Before we start the fight, if we buy a Waterstone from Delibird Presents, we can actually evolve our Lombre into Ludicolo. Now we have a powerhouse grass type to take him on with. Kofu leads off with Veluza and we lead with our newly evolved Ludicolo. We outspeed and critical hit a Giga Drain for a one-hit KO on him. He sends out Wugtrio next. It hits us for a headbutt, but it doesn't do much damage at all, as one Giga Drain destroys him. That leaves his last Pokemon, Crabominable. I think we got it that time. He will Terrestrialize though into a pure water type, so we definitely have the advantage here. We go for a Giga Drain and do over half as he goes for a Slam, but Ludicolo's dancing is too much for the crab and we dodge it, meaning just a second Giga Drain and we take him down. With the level up, Pineco evolves into Forretress, giving us our final evolution for the run, and with that we have won our 4th gym badge. Up next is Team Star Poison. We actually lose our first try on this. His normal Revroom takes out most of our team with Bulldozers and Iron Heads, and it ends up being a Forretress standoff with his Starmobile Revroom. We get it super low though with rollouts, but Flame Charges eventually take us out. I think we can beat it for sure though. We actually got brick walled here for a while, if I'm being honest. We just couldn't take down his last Revroom, so I leveled up the team a little bit to around their max level and tried again. So we lead with Geodude, and now it's Skuntank. We get poison from a Toxic, and one super effective Earthquake takes down the Skunk. She sends out Revroom, and our only way to deal with this thing really is Sudowoodo. Thanks to its bulk, it lives an Iron Head, and we have to hope we don't get flinched. We don't. So one Earthquake takes down Revroom. Muck is her third Pokemon, and she just hits a Sludge Wave to finish off Sudowoodo. It's time for Vulpix, and we hit an extra sensory doing nearly half, as the Sludge Wave does a lot of damage to us. One more extra sensory and we get the flinch, finally some RNG, which means one more attack and we can take down Muck. So we're looking pretty healthy now for the final boss, the Starmobile. It takes down Vulpix in one move, so we send out Geodude. It outspeeds us and hits a spin out for a massive amount of damage, harshly lowering his speed though, so we can hit an Earthquake for around 40% of his health. Toxic Debris activates, which puts Toxic Spikes on the field. One more spin out and Geodude goes down, but it's reduced its speed even more now, so Krogunk can outspeed and hit an Earthquake, although not doing as much as Geodude did. It goes for a Flame Charge, but we still outspeed, so we can get off another attack. Unfortunately, it flame charges again, meaning now it's faster, and it takes us out of the spin out. We go to Ludicolo as we should outspeed, and Bubble Beam does good damage. Instead of going for a poison attack though, it flame charges, meaning one more Bubble Beam and we finally take down the Poison Team Star. Honestly, this wasn't a roadblock I expected, but at least we got past it, so we take down our 3rd Team Star member. So we travelled to Medalai, but before I did this, I spent a bit of time getting our team some more powerful moves, as the list of TMs are open and we can find find them scattered around Paldea. We pass the gym test and we're ready to take on Larry. He's such a relatable character. His lead is Kamala and we lead with Krogan. We can go for a super effective low kick here, doing over half as he goes for a yawn. I opt to actually stay in here and take him out of a low kick and fall asleep doing so. He sends out the new evolution of Dunsparce to Dunsparce and takes us out with one super effective drill run. I go into Geodude and we don't take a hit that well either as he crits us. I choose to go for a Stealth Rock here for his Staraptor rather than attack the threat in front of me for some reason. He takes us out of a Hyper Drill, so we send out Forretress. He goes for a Glare, paralysing us as I start a rollout. He's hitting us for a weak drill run as our rollout gets a critical hit, doing huge damage. We take another drill run, putting us on only 39 HP before we get the knockout on him. Lastly is Staraptor. We take the Intimidate and he loses some of his HP to Stealth Rocks. He terrestrializes into a normal type, and we are on our last turn of rollout. He hits a weak Aerial Ace, but we miss the rollout unfortunately. So another Aerial Ace takes down Forretress. We send out Sudowoodo and my natural instinct is Seabird, use Rock Move, but he's a normal type now. We do a good chunk of damage as Facade isn't doing too much damage to us. We get hit by another Facade and miss a Rock Slide, so I decide to start going for a super effective low kick, and we take him down to the red. His last Facade takes us to 5 HP before Sudowoodo kicks the bird and gets a KO. So we beat Larry and that gets us our 5th gym badge. Straight after our gym battle, Nemona challenges us. We don't even get to think twice. Lycanroc is her first Pokemon, and Krogan doesn't really take a quick attack well. One Earthquake, however, takes her to the red. We take another quick attack and can take down Lycanroc with one more move. Out next is Goomy, but it's not as bulky as its evolutions, so we get the knockout with just one Gunk Shot. Pawmo is the next Pokemon, and it outspeeds Krogunk and revenge kills us. We send out Geodude and Pawmo hits a 4-turn Arm Thrust, beating down our Geodude, but a super effective Earthquake is too much, so this falls over as well, leaving her last Pokemon, Meowscarada. I send out Vulpix and we both Terastallize. She hits a Slash doing massive damage as our boosted Flamethrower doesn't quite get the knockout. One more Slash and she takes down our little Fox. I'm thinking Ludicolo can probably take a move well of this thing, so I opt to go into him. However, he critical hits us with a boosted Flower Trick, and that takes down Ludicolo as well. I decide to send in Sudowoodo as I know we can live one move due to our ability Sturdy. She hits a boosted Flower Trick, critical hitting again, but we live and can take down Nemona with a final low kick. Back-to-back gym fights here though, as we take on the Ghost Gym leader Ryan. This fight is super RNG based as the crowd cheers and boosts your stats for both teams. We have Krogunk and Vulpix as our leads as this is a double battle, but Mimikyu and Banette team up on Vulpix. Banette sucker punches him and Mimikyu slashes, taking down the Fox. Krogunk does solid damage with a knockoff into Banette, so we send in Forretress as our replacement. The crowd cheer us on, putting us at a +1 attack as Mimikyu Shadow Sneaks Forretress and Banette sucker punches him, but Forretress is a tank and it doesn't do much at all, so Krogunk safely takes out the Banette, while Forretress's Heavy Slam breaks Mimikyu's disguise. Houndstone comes out next and the crowd cheer again, raising our attack another stage. Mimikyu Shadow Sneaks Forretress again and we knock off Houndstone, but even at a +2 we don't quite do enough damage to take it down, so it goes for a Phantom Force. Forretress drops on Mimikyu's head with a Heavy Slam and it takes it down in one attack. She sends out her last Pokemon Toxicity as the crowd give her a +1 to speed, so after summoning Houndstones and the little dogs dancing away, she Terastallizes into a Ghost type and goes for a Discharge, not affecting Houndstone and taking both of my Pokemon low. Forretress survives a Phantom Force with only 4 HP as we knock off the Toxicity, bringing him to the red, so in return Forretress Heavy Slams Houndstone, leaving only one Pokemon left. The crowd give her a boost to every single stat as one more Discharge takes down both of our Pokemon. I'm not worried though, as both Sudowoodo and Geodude have Sturdy, so after she hexes Geodude to 1 HP, Sudowoodo's Earthquake takes out every Pokemon on the field, and that means we have our 6th gym badge and we've beat Ryan. Next is the Quaking Titan Iron Treads, the futuristic Donphan. I thought Geodude would be a solid Pokemon here, but he hits a super effective Iron Head and takes us to our Sturdy, and he gets the flinch, meaning a Rapid Spin that raises his speed takes us out. I go to Sudowoodo and his Iron Head takes us to the red, before an Earthquake does nearly half to him. We go down to another Iron Head shortly after. Our next best Pokemon for this is Vulpix. An Iron Head takes us to low HP, but a super effective Flamethrower demolishes him, which activates stage 2. Iron Tread goes for a Stomping Tantrum on Skullvillain and does half as Arvin goes goes for a scary face. I opt to take down Arvin's Skull Villain and do good damage to Iron Treads with an Earthquake. We exchange moves as he just spams knockoff, and we can take him to probably about 1 HP before he takes down our Geodude with an Iron Head. With Skull Villain's scary face still in effect, our Vulpix is faster, meaning one flamethrower knocks out the future Donphan. That gives us our 4th Titan badge now, and we can power up Miraidon once again thanks to the power of a sandwich. So we can start flying to the Psychic Gym now on our freshly powered up Miraidon. But first, once again, we are ambushed by Nemona, who challenges us to a mandatory fight. She leads with Lycanroc and we have Geodude. I misclick a Stone Edge as she goes for a Sand Attack, so we definitely miss the Stone Edge now. We go for an Earthquake as Lycanroc hits a Crunch, but we miss that also. He crunches us again and I set up Stealth Rocks. He Sand Attacks us again, so we miss another attack. We take a Crunch that takes us to 11 HP, but we connect an Earthquake, taking down Lycanroc. Sliggoo is the next Pokemon, and she finishes Geodude off with a Dragon Pulse. We send out our Dancing Ludicolo and hit an Ice Beam for good damage as she Dragon Pulses us. One more Ice Beam and down goes the dragon. Up next is Pawmot, so I swap into Sudowoodo and she paralyzes us with a Thunder Wave. We break through however and hit an Earthquake, but we don't quite get the KO. Pawmot hits a weak Spark and we finish it off with a Trailblaze, leaving her last Pokemon, Meowscarada. She terastallizes and takes down Sudowoodo with a Flower Trick. We go into Croagunk and we live a Flower Trick on only 11 HP and fire off a Gunk Shot for the 1-hit KO, beating Nemona pretty easily again. Tulip is the Psychic Gym Leader and she has cool Pokemon like Farafrig and a Sparfer. So on our first attempt we actually only end up with Geodude versus her Terastallized Florges. I go for an Explosion, taking us both out, but I lose the battle because I have no Pokemon left. So let's do that again. So her lead is Farafrig and we lead with Forretress. We can Terastallize into a Bug type here and Farafrig sets up a Reflect, boosting his team's defense. We go for a Bug Bite doing just under half and he misses a Zen Headbutt. We hit another Bug Bite and then he does eventually land a hit on us, but it doesn't do too much damage and we take him out with one more Bug Bite. Her next Pokemon is Gardevoir. We barely live a Psychic though, and we hit a Heavy Slam for just under half with the Reflect up. The next turn, she takes down our Forretress. We swap into Ludicolo now, and we hit a Surf, not quite taking her out. A Psychic puts us in the yellow. We Giga Drain for the knockout and restore enough HP to put us back into the green. A Sparfer is her third Pokemon and she outspeeds, and a Psychic takes us to 19 HP. However, our Giga Drain does a massive chunk, so her next Psychic we live on 4 HP and can take her to the red. We've not restored enough HP to live another move however, and Ludicolo falls after. We send out Vulpix, but our frailty shows here as we barely live one attack before we can get the knockout on a Sparfer with a Flamethrower. Her last Pokemon is Florges. She Terastallizes into a pure Psychic type as we outspeed and hit a Flamethrower, but we do very little damage. She takes us down with a Psychic. Now I go into Geodude, we live in Moonblast thanks to our ability Sturdy, and I go for Explosion, taking her all the way down to a Sliver. This means Sudowoodo can come out, we can survive a Moonblast also and finish her off with an Earthquake, giving us our 7th gym badge and leaving only one gym left. And there's no better time than the present to challenge the Glacedo gym. After we slide down the mountain on Miraidon, we can finally challenge Grusha. As an Ice type specialist, he's got some pretty powerful Pokemon. So Grusha leads with Frostmoth and we lead with Vulpix. Frostmoth is a bug and ice, so one Flamethrower is enough to take it out completely. Her next Pokemon is Beartick. Unfortunately, it has enough bulk to live a Flamethrower and takes us out in only one Earthquake. I opt to send in Geodude here. Beartick priority Aqua Jets us and I set up Stealth Rocks to do damage every time a Pokemon comes out. We take one more Aqua Jet and down goes Geodude. We can go into Sudowoodo and Beartick hits a super effective Earthquake, taking us low, but we can get the knockout with a Low Kick. Sea Titan is out and I love this thing. It takes damage from Stealth Rocks, but knocks out Sudowoodo with a Liquidation. Croagunk is our Pokemon we use now, and we outspeed, and a Low Kick demolishes him, leaving his last Pokemon Altaria. It takes damage from Stealth Rocks and then Terastallizes into a pure Ice type, and goes for a Hurricane, but misses, so we hit a Low Kick dealing okay damage to it. It connects a Hurricane the next turn however, and takes down Croagunk. We only have 2 Pokemon left, and they both don't take Hurricanes well. So we go into Forretress and get hit by a Hurricane, taking us to 51 HP and confusing us, but we break through and hit a Gyro Ball for the knockout on Altaria. Honestly, if we hit ourselves, I think we possibly lose to 2 more Hurricanes, so I'm glad we didn't. With that, we beat Grusha and we get our final gym badge. With the gyms taken care of, it's time to take on our 2 last Team Star bases and the last Titan. We start off with a Fairy Team Star as we're pretty close to it. Our team matches up pretty well here, so I'm not too worried. We lead off with Ludicolo and his lead is Azumarill. We go for a Giga Drain, taking him down to the red, and he goes for a bounce, flying in the air. The move will probably take down Ludicolo, but he actually misses, meaning we can take down Azumarill with one more Giga Drain. Wigglytuff isn't a problem either. Our Surf is doing over half, and his Play Rough deals good damage but not enough, so we take down the Wigglytuff with one more Surf. Douchebun is his next Pokemon, and a Play Rough takes us to the red, as our Surf takes him just below half. He finishes us off with a Crunch, so we choose to send out Geodude next. We take a Play Rough and connect to Stone Edge, taking him down, leaving only his Starmobile left. A super effective Steel Roller takes down Geodude and removes a Misty Terrain that he set up. So we go into Croagunk as we can deal massive damage with a Gunk Shot, but he Confuse Rays us first. We hit ourselves in Confusion for massive damage, and the next turn he takes down Croagunk with a Misty Talk. But we have a Fortress and we wall this thing really. He confuses us and we connect to Gyro Ball. His Magical Talk is genuinely doing nothing to us, so the next few turns are just hitting ourselves, maybe hitting the Gyro Ball and tanking Magical Talks. We get him to half before we finally snap out of Confusion. We're both in the orange, but our Gyro Ball is doing massive damage to him. He takes us to only 16 HP before we break through Confusion and take down the Starmobile with a final Gyro Ball. This means only one last Titan badge and one last Team Star badge left for us to get. On to the final Titan Pokemon now, the False Dragon. Tatsugiri and Dondonzo. Honestly, Ludicolo is way too powerful for this thing. A Giga Drain is doing over half to him, so on the second one we activate stage 2 already. Watching this thing swim away as big as it is underwater actually spooks me a little bit, I don't know why. So we chase it down and activate stage 2. With its boosted stats thanks to the Herba Mystica, Giga Drain isn't quite doing half anymore, but a weak Water Pulse doesn't do much to us. We Giga Drain again, taking it to 25% and it hits an order up, critical hitting and doing over half to Ludicolo. Greedent still hasn't connected attack, so one more Giga Drain from us and down goes Dondonzo. Tatsugiri comes out and is ready to battle too. We Ice Beam and get the freeze turn 1 as we don't do much damage to it anyway. Tatsugiri actually never falls out, so after a while of me and Greedent attacking him, he finally gets knocked out by Greedent's takedown. Ludicolo put in a lot of work here. That means we have took down every Titan Pokemon and we use our last sandwich to power up Miraidon for his last power up. With both the gyms and Titans taken care of, it's time to take down our last Team Star, the Fighting type. I decided to make Ludicolo a more physical attacker here as it can learn Zen Headbutt, a psychic type move. She leads off with Toxicroak and we lead with Ludicolo. I play it very risky here and set up a sword stance as he hits a super effective poison jab, but thankfully he doesn't poison us. The next turn we can one-hit knock out the Toxicroak with a Zen Headbutt. She sends out Passiman, but we outspeed and it gets... She sends out Passiman and we outspeed and we get another one-hit knockout with a Zen Headbutt. Annihilape is a third Pokemon and it looks so cool, but we outspeed this too and we get another one-hit knockout with a Zen Headbutt. Lucario is fourth and Zen Headbutt is only neutral here, so we don't do enough damage and he takes us out with a Dragon Pulse. I send out Vulpix and go for a Nasty Plot to give us a +2 in special attack, as his Aura Sphere takes us pretty low. We can then finish him off with a Flamethrower. Finally, the last Starmobile of the game. It outspeeds Vulpix but thankfully goes for a Shift Gear, raising its speed and attack, so we can fire off a super effective boosted extrasensory for over half to it. It raises its defense thanks to its ability Stamina, meaning now it's got a higher attack, defense and speed. Our team is all physical attackers after Vulpix, so this is going to be rough. She takes down Vulpix and then we send out Geodude. It Shift Gears again as we hit an Earthquake for a good chunk of damage, but we raise its defense again. Combat Talk takes us to our Sturdy as we hit another Earthquake, taking him to the red and boosting his defense more. He finishes us off with a Spin Out, but that harshly lowers his speed. Croagunk's time, I'm hoping we can now outspeed, but we don't, and one high horsepower takes us swiftly down. We send out Sudowoodo as we can live at least one hit thanks to Sturdy, and he connects a Combat Talk. We live it on 6 HP and fire off an Earthquake, raising his defense, and leaves him nearly defeated. He knocks out Sudowoodo and our last hope is our tanky Fortress. Fighting moves are neutral as we are part Steel type, but we tank a Combat Talk reasonably well, and our Gyro Ball takes him down. So that's Eri defeated and we finally get our last Team Star badge. This means we have defeated every single Team Star member, every single Titan, and every single gym.
We're in the end game now.
First up, let's take on the Pokemon League. Our first challenge is a Ground type Elite Four member. Ludicolo is going to be so important here. So on Whiscash we can set up a Swords Dance, getting a +2 to our attack as he goes for a future sight attack. The following turn we can hit a Seed Bomb with Whiscash, being 4 times weak to grass, he goes down. His next Pokemon is Donphan. This has a Sturdy, so a Seed Bomb takes it to 1 HP as he fires off a Poison Jab, and he gets the crit, taking us to only 41 health, which means the future Psych attack takes us to 3 HP. We finish off Donphan with a Seed Bomb and out comes Camerupt. I didn't reteach Ludicolo a water move, so our best play is the Zen Headbutt. It doesn't quite do enough damage to take him down, so Camerupt takes us out with a Fire Blast. We can go into Krogunk and Earthquake for the knockout next. He sends out Dugtrio, and I perhaps thought we might be faster, but I was wrong. He Earthquakes us, taking down Krogunk. We swap into Sudowoodo here, and Dugtrio sets up a Sandstorm, but a Trailblaze does good enough damage and we get the one-hit knockout. This leaves his final Pokemon, Clodsire. He Terastallizes and then goes for a Protect. On the next turn we can Trailblaze again for solid damage as Earthquake takes us low. We Trailblaze again to take him to 20% HP as Liquidation takes out Sudowoodo. We then send out Geodude and take out Clodsire with an Earthquake, defeating our first Elite Four member. Next is the Steel type Elite Four, Poppy. She's small but powerful, and I'm not sure how this is going to go. She leads off with Copperajah and we have Geodude. I set up Stealth Rocks to break Magnezone's Sturdy and get chip damage, as his Heavy Slam takes us to only 1 HP. We can then knock it out the next turn with an Earthquake. Poppy sends out Bronzong, and our best answer to this is actually Forretress, so we exchange Earthquakes and Bud Bites before we finally take him out, leaving us at a reasonably high HP. He goes to Corviknight and I opt to stay in and go for a rollout, but he Iron Defenses, raising his defense sharply. He goes for another Iron Defense again, and now this is starting to become scary. We miss our rollout thankfully, so after he body presses us to low HP, we can Volt Switch into Vulpix. We are faster, and thanks to all the chip damage, one Flamethrower takes down the Steel Bird. Magnezone comes out and his Sturdy breaks. We hit a Flamethrower, nearly getting the KO, but he survives and sets up a Light Screen, so the next turn we knock him out with another move. Finally, her last Pokemon, Tinkaton. She Terastallizes into a pure Steel type, but we are not doing half with Flamethrower thanks to the Light Screen, and Stone Edge takes us to only a Sliver. We hit another Flamethrower, taking it under half now as she finishes us off with a Stone Edge. I go into Toxicroak thinking we outspeed, but yet again we don't, and we get taken out by a boosted Gigaton Hammer. I've overestimated his speed all the time. We swap into Sudowoodo knowing we can survive any attack. He hits a weak player off and we get the knockout with an Earthquake, beating Poppy and taking down Elite Four member 2. Next up is our old friend Larry, who's also the normal type gym lead. Here he's a flying Elite Four. So his lead is Tropius, and even though we are weak, Stealth Rocks are really important for me, so we lead with Geodude. Tropius sees a Solar Beam knockout, so he goes for it rather than Sunny Day, and we set up Stealth Rocks. The next turn he connects a Solar Beam, taking us to our Sturdy, as we connect to Stone Edge and take him down. His next Pokemon is Staraptor. It takes Stealth Rock damage and uses its ability Intimidate on Geodude. It takes out Geodude though with a Thief and steals our Everstone. I swap into Forretress here as not many things can take a hit from Staraptor. It hits us with a Brave Bird and takes a little bit of recoil as we go for a Volt Switch into Sudowoodo. Staraptor close combat Sudowoodo and it takes us pretty low. We connect a Head Smash though, taking down Staraptor. Up next is Altaria, and it quickly finishes off Sudowoodo with a Dragon Pulse. I misplay here and go into Forretress, but he knows Flamethrower, so down he goes in one move. It's not looking good for us now. I send out Krogunk and we outspeed and hit an Ice Punch, and we get the critical hit and take down Altaria. Oricorio is his next Pokemon. It outspeeds Krogunk and takes us out with just one Air Slash. We go into Vulpix, and this is going to be a close call. We hit a Flamethrower, taking it to the red, but it teeter dances, confusing us. These games really do like to confuse you, but we break through and hit a Flamethrower, leaving his last Pokemon, Flamigo. It Terastallizes, and for some reason I went for an extra sensory rather than a Flamethrower, and I'm glad I did, as we get the flinch. So we hit a Stab Flamethrower and take it to the red, but Flamigo goes for a flying boosted Brave Bird and one hit KOs us, meaning it actually takes hefty recoil and takes itself out, giving us a victory over Larry and defeating Elite Four number 3. The final Elite Four member is Hassel, and he uses Dragon types and has one of my favourite Pokemon this gen, Baxcalibur. We lead with Geodude and he leads with Noivern. He Dragon Pulses us nearly for the knockout, but we get up Stealth Rocks for 3 passive damage on each of his Pokemon. He takes down Geodude with another Dragon Pulse, so we send out Sudowoodo. He hits a Super Fang for half on Sudowoodo as we connect a Head Smash, getting the one hit knockout, but we take ourselves out with the recoil. This thing was a big threat to my team, so I'm kinda happy with the trade-off. It's Haxorus versus Croagunk now, and he critical hits a Dragon Claw and takes down Croagunk. How unlucky. I go into Vulpix expecting to live a hit, so we set up a nasty plot, but it's too strong for our little fox and takes it down with one Rock Tomb. With our team now decimated, it's time to use our own ace, Ludicolo. We set up a Swords Dance and he hits a Dragon Claw, taking us all the way to 79 HP. We can then get a knockout with an Ice Punch. We are faster than Dragalge, so one Ice Punch after rocks takes him down also. Flapple is 4 times weak to ice, so we only need one Ice Punch to take him out too. Lastly is his ace, Baxcalibur. He terrestrializes into a pure Dragon type and we outspeed. Hit an Ice Punch, but it's too bulky, and it lives and takes us out with a boosted Glaive Rush. The last hope is Forretress, but we resist Glaive Rush and we can get the knockout with a Gyro Ball. With that, we have beaten all of the Elite Four. Now it's time for the champion, Jita. She's got a bunch of different Pokemon types, so we will need to use all of our Pokemon here probably. So I lead off with Geodude again, and she has a Sparfer. She goes for a Reflect, boosting her team's defense, and we go for Stealth Rocks. The next turn she Lumina crashes us, doing massive damage and lowering our special defense. We can fire off a weak Earthquake in return, and she takes us out the following with a Lumina Crash. We swap into Vulpix, but we don't outspeed as she hits us again with another Lumina Crash. We hit a Dark Pulse, but we don't get the knockout, so one more move from her and she takes out our Fox. I go into Ludicolo, who does outspeed and can finish off Espartha with our own move. On King Gambit, I swap into Sudowoodo. King Gambit goes for an Eye Ahead, and we retaliate with an Earthquake, but we only take him to under half as he takes out Sudowoodo with another Iron Head. We then send out Croagunk and hit a super effective Drain Punch for the knockout. Go-Go is next, but we outspeed it and hit a Gunk Shot, and that's an easy knockout also. Veluza is her 4th Pokemon. We actually somehow outspeed it and hit a Gunk Shot for solid damage before a Psycho Cut takes down Croagunk. I decide it's time for a Ludicolo setup and go for Swords Dance as we eat up a Psycho Cut. We go for another Swords Dance, giving us a +4 to attack as the Psycho Cut takes us to 71 HP. We can then take out Veluza with a Seed Bomb. Avalugg is 5th and extremely bulky. A Waterfall takes it down to a Sliver after rocks, but we flinch. How lucky for us. So one more Waterfall and we take him down. Finally is Glamora. This is part Poison type, so it's a problem. However, she terrestrializes it into a pure Rock type, meaning one super effective ×4 attack Seed Bomb takes him down, meaning we are now champion of Paldea. But the run's not over for Brock yet. We've got a few things we need to do in Paldea. So if we go back to the lighthouse where everything began, it leads to our final battle with Arvin. He leads off with Greedent and we lead off with our Croagunk. Thinking I've got a good matchup here, I hit a Drain Punch doing huge damage, but he retaliates with a Psychic Fangs and one hit knocks us out. I send out Geodude and go for the usual Stealth Rocks as we eat up an Earthquake to about half. We go for our own Earthquake and take down Greedent. Cold scrolls up and I swap in Ludicolo. We are faster and one Ice Punch demolishes him and gets a knockout after rock damage. Skullvillain comes out and doesn't take an Ice Punch too well either and goes for a Fire Blast, but it doesn't do a lot of damage to us really, so we take it out the next turn with a following Ice Punch. The Minecraft Pokemon is out Garganical and we hit a Waterfall for solid damage as he sets up his own Stealth Rocks. One more Waterfall takes down Garganical. Cloyster is his 5th Pokemon. We nearly get the knockout with Seed Bomb and he goes for an Icicle Spear. Thanks to his ability Skill Link, he hits us 5 times, but we survive it, so we take him out with another Seed Bomb. Finally is Mabustiff. He intimidates us, lowering our attack, and terrestrializes into a Dark type. We do a little bit of damage with Waterfall before he takes us out with a Crunch. I go into Geodude thinking maybe we can live an attack, and we don't, so he falls as well. Sudowoodo time and Stealth Rocks breaks our Sturdy. Mabustiff goes for a Crunch and critical hits us and lowers our defense, as we take him low with a Drain Punch. Thanks to the insane RNG on his Crunch, we can't live another attack, and Sudowoodo falls down. But we just send out Vulpix, outspeed, and get the KO with a Flamethrower. With that, we have finished the Path of Titan story time, and just one more arc to finish up. So if we head back to the academy, Clive reveals his true self. It's Clayville, who would have guessed? He challenges us to a battle and we accept. So our lead is Geodude and he sends out a Rangaroo. We set up Stealth Rocks as he goes for a Yawn. We swap into Vulpix and he yawns us again. We hit a Dark Pulse as he goes for a Reflect and we fall asleep. He hits a Dream Eater, doing huge damage and healing himself in the process. One more Dream Eater and down goes Vulpix. I'm just going to skip to the part we eventually kill him, as he just yawns every one of our Pokemon as I keep switching. Eventually he foul plays our Sudowoodo as his Reflect goes off, he yawns us again, but I've had enough and hit a Head Smash, critically hitting him and taking him down. A Bomber Snow comes out and sets up the hail with its ability. I let us go down to a Wood Hammer and he takes a little bit of recoil. We go into Croagunk now and outspeed and fire off a Gunk Shot, taking a Bomber Snow down in just one move. Houndoom, my favourite Pokemon, is next and he outspeeds and fire blasts us, and our frailty shows and we get knocked out. I go into my healthy Geodude, however. A Dark Pulse puts us on the red and we can knock out Houndoom with an Earthquake. Clive sends out a Moongus, and knowing Geodude's low and we don't have an answer for this, I go for an Explosion, taking out a Moongus and myself in the process. It's Forretress versus Poltergeist now and it goes for a Will-O-Wisp, reducing our attack stat. We actually miss rollout here and I'm kinda glad. We get hit for a Shadow Ball for a lot of damage and we Volt Switch into our only other Pokemon, Ludicolo. I know he's going to burn us, but I choose to Swords Dance anyway, as he does in fact Will-O-Wisp. I go for one more Swords Dance and he goes for a Shell Smash, not good. It hits us for a Shadow Ball and we go super low, but we can take it out with a Waterfall. After burn we are in the red and he sends out a fully healthy Quaquaval. He terastallizes it, but we outspeed and hit a Seed Bomb. Quaquaval gets destroyed and goes down in one attack. With him beat, he tells us he's not in fact the boss of Team Star. Who would have guessed? With him beat, he tells us he's not in fact the real boss of Team Star. Who would have guessed that either? And he gets in trouble for battling students. So we take on the actual Cassiopeia, who is in fact our friend Penny. She has evolutions. She leads with Umbreon and we lead with Geodude. Umbreon goes for an annoying move, Baby Doll Eyes, lowering our attack as we go for the usual Stealth Rocks. We swap out here, but he lowers the attack of our Sudowoodo on the swapping also. We take a Dark Pulse, but he flinches us. He then lowers our attack again and we hit a Drain Punch for very little. Time to swap again. We go into Croagunk, who at least has stab on his fighting moves, as he lowers Croagunk's attack. We hit a Drain Punch and take it out in one critical hit. I don't even feel bad, you deserve it, Umbreon. Flareon comes out and then decides to Baby Doll Eyes us too. Honestly, I hate these evolutions right now. Our Earthquake takes him to the red and the next turn we take him out with one more Earthquake. On Vaporeon, I swap to Ludicolo, however this Baby Doll Eyes us as well. I've had enough and set up a Swords Dance as he goes for it again. I fire off a Seed Bomb, taking out Vaporeon in one move thankfully. Leafeon is the next evolution and we Ice Punch for solid damage, as his Exisser does nearly half. We fire off one more Ice Punch and get the knockout. Jolteon's turn, it hits a Thunder, nearly taking us out as we take him to the red with a Waterfall. He connects another Thunder to knock out Ludicolo. We go into Geodude here and he can't touch us apart from a pretty weak pin missile, so we can take out Jolteon with an Earthquake. Her last Pokemon is Sylveon and she terastallizes, so her fairy moves are going to do a lot more damage. Her Moonblast does insane damage to us and takes out Geodude in one hit. We can go into Croagunk however and go for a Stab Gunk Shot, taking out Sylveon and beating Penny. I don't even feel bad, screw you Baby Doll Eyes. After Penny, if we head to the centre of the city, we have our final battle with Nemona. It's Geodude versus Lycanroc again, and we both have the same idea, as Lycanroc sets up Stealth Rocks, and so does Geodude. She critical hits us with a Drill Run, but Geodude is too powerful, and it goes down in one Earthquake. Goodra is her second Pokemon of choice, and it finishes us off swiftly with a Muddy Water. I swap into Ludicolo, and we set up a Swords Dance, as Goodra does good damage with a Sludge Bomb. The next turn we get the knockout though with an Ice Punch. Pawmot is her third Pokemon, we outspeed and a boosted Waterfall is all it takes for Pawmot to fall too. The Dunsparce is fourth and it's got enough bulk to live a Waterfall, although in the red, and it takes out Ludicolo with a Hyper Drill. We send out Croagunk and go for a Drain Punch, finishing off the Dunsparce. Orthworm is fifth and we can't go for a ground move due to its ability, so we Drain Punch to take it to half as it one hit knocks out Croagunk. We then swap into Vulpix and we outspeed and can take down Orthworm with a single Flamethrower, leaving our last Pokemon, Meowscarada. We both Terastallize as it's only fitting and we are faster, so a boosted Terastallized fire move goes down, destroying her starter and beating our final battle with Nemona. Okay, so we have finally become champion. We've took down Team Star and took down all the Titans and helped Arvin restore my boost diff. It's time to head to Area 0 where we meet up with Penny, Nemona and Arvin. We glide down on Koraidon and we are tasked with turning locks on 4 research facilities. We are challenged by Pokemon each time we get to a research centre. It's a 2v1 so these battles are super easy. Once we make our way to the bottom, we open the gate. We have a gauntlet of sorts with Paradox Pokemon charging at us. We swiftly take them out and it's up to me and Koraidon now. We find out the Professor is just an AI as well. The Professor warns us if we push the button he's going to attack us. This is it. Can Brock beat Pokemon Violet? Let's do it. We lead off with Geodude and he leads with Iron Moth. He hits a Fiery Dance for over half, but being Fire and Poison type, one Earthquake obliterates it in just one move. Iron Bundle is next and it takes down Geodude in one Water Pulse. We swap into Forretress and he goes for a Snowscape as after Rocks we Volt Switch and have done around half to him. We go into Sudowoodo and for some reason he Snowscapes again, so we head smash him for the knockout and take recoil damage. His next Pokemon is Iron Thorns. His Earthquake doesn't quite take us out, but our Earthquake does enough to get the one hit knockout on him. Iron Hands is up, it outspeeds and quickly finishes us off with a Drain Punch. I choose Vulpix here and go for an extra sensory doing half to him as he Drain Punches us, taking us to 13 HP and healing off a lot of the damage. We go for another extra sensory and we crit, taking him to only 1 HP, but an Iron Head finishes off our Vulpix. I swap into Ludicolo and we outspeed and knock him out of a waterfall. Iron Jugulis is out and I go for a Swords Dance as he air slashes us for huge damage. With the boosted attack though, we can one hit knock out the future Hydreigon. That just leaves his last Pokemon, Iron Valiant. It activates its booster, raising its already scary attack, and I'm worried. It takes out Ludicolo with a Poison Jab and I send in Krogunk. Unfortunately it outspeeds us and destroys us with a Cycle Cut. It's all down to Forretress now. Iron Valiant hits us for a Brick Break for around 55 damage as our Gyro Ball takes him to 1 HP. He Brick Breaks again and no crit, meaning one more Gyro Ball and we take down Iron Valiant, beating the AI Turo and winning the run. So we've defeated Pokemon Violet with Brock. This run was super fun to do and we had quite a varied selection of Pokemon this time. They all had their chance to shine too at different parts, but my MVP was definitely our Swords Dance Ludicolo in the late game. Let me know in the comment who was your MVP of the run. As always, if you enjoy this type of content, subscribe and leave a like. Our next challenge is probably going to be more along the lines of fighting the champions. So if you like that kind of content, stick around. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.